Predaplant Dragostapelia was a level 8 Dark Dragon fusion with 2700 attack and 1800 defense that required one fusion monster plus one dark monster as its materials. Its quick effect allows you to place one Predaplant counter on a face-up monster your opponent controls once per turn. Monsters with Predaplant counters on them have their activated effects negated. This card gave Predaplant counters purpose. With Dragostapelia on the field, your counters now became a pseudo-effect veiler to place on your opponent's monsters. Also, the requirements to make it were simple and easy. It was so simple that everybody who could pick up a quick Super Poly started adding Dragostapelia to their extra decks. You could easily make Dragostapelia or Dragon of the Swamp in certain matchups to get problematic cards off the field with Super Polymerization. Even today, it sees play in mini decks and is usually a staple in fusion decks due to its easy requirements, which is no problem for decks like Branded or Tearlaments. Their new quick play spell card, Predaplant, lets you reveal any amount of Predap cards from your hand to target an equal amount of your opponent's face-up monsters and put Predaplant counters on them and make them level 1 if they have levels. It also had a graveyard effect that allowed you to prevent the destruction of your Predaplant monsters by battle by banishing Predaplant instead. This card was supposed to be a combo piece with Dragostapelia to control a board with Stapelia's continuous effect. They could also be combined with Split Sundew to utilize its effect to fuse with your opponent's monsters. Unfortunately, Predaplant's issues were still in full effect. Monsters with counters didn't stay in the field long enough to have any impact on the game due to various extra deck options, and the deck still suffered from being weak to floodgates and hand traps, and the deck still wasn't quick enough to keep up with the meta due to Master Rule 4. The only cards that saw any play were Scorpio, Darlingtonia Cobra, and Dragostapelia. Only one in-archetype card was printed to help with back row issues. Predaplant Spider Orchid was a plant pendulum with 0 attack and defense. In the Pendulum Zone, if you activate this card during the main phase, you can target one face-up spell trapper in the field and destroy it. If you think its removal effect was horrendous, as a monster, if you normal or special summoned it during the end phase, you get to discard a plant monster to add one level 4 lower plant monster from your deck to your hand. 2 back-to-back horrendous effects printed on one card. Only being able to hit face-up cards that you know favors if you needed to hit face-down cards, and searching during the end phase of your turn for a piece that you'd want immediately to continue fusion summoning isn't optimal. There's no need to wonder why this card didn't see any play. In 2019, Legendary Duelist Immortal Destiny was brought to the TCG, containing 5 new Predaplant cards to boost the archetype hopefully. The 2 new monsters were Predaplant Helium Pharynchus and Predaplant Trifeorutum. Helium Pharynchus could be special summoned if your opponent controls a monster with a Predaplant counter on it. If your opponent's card destroys this card in its owner's possession, you can target one Dark Dragon or Dark Plant monster in your graveyard, except if this card is special summoned. Trifeorutum was a fusion spell that required 3 dark monsters on the field. It gained the original attack to all other monsters with Predaplant counters. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck while you control this card, you can negate the summon and destroy the monster. You can also special summon this card from your graveyard if your opponent controls a monster with a Predaplant counter on it. You just need to see the phrase requires 3 dark monsters to know it became another tech for extra decks. It's tough to say no to a 3000 Dark Dragon fusion which gives you a free negate once per turn. Now, there were 3 fusion monsters that Predaplant generously gave to the TCG for super poly techs, though Dragostapelia and Venom Fusion Dragon still saw more play than Trifeorutum due to their materials being simpler. They did receive 3 new spell traps to play as well. Predapractice was their new search card. You could special summon a Predaplant monster from your hand, then you get to search for a Predap card from your deck and add it to your hand. But you were locked, unable to special summon monsters from the extra deck except for fusion monsters for the rest of the turn. Prime Fusion was a big archetype fusion card. It was a quick play spell that lets you fusion summon one dark monster from your extra deck with 2 monsters on either side of the field, but you have to use 2 monsters on your side of the field. Finally, Predaplanting was their trap card that sent one Predaplant monster from the deck to the graveyard to place Predator counters on all face-up monsters your opponent controls, and all their levels were changed to 1 if they were level 2 or higher. If you fusion summon while this card's in the graveyard, you can remove this card from the graveyard to target one card in the field and destroy it. The good news was all of them were playable. The bad news is they all had pretty awkward drawbacks for no reason. Better practice restrictions didn't hinder Predaplants, as fusion summoning was all the deck was built for, and it took the pressure off of Orphan Scorpio being the primary way to search into your deck. However, in a format favored by links, you'd have to have the ability to play links in case plans didn't turn out like they usually do, which is the forte if you play Predaplants. Prime Fusion forced you to use monsters on the field, but if you wanted to get the most out of this card, you'd have to first get a counter on your opponent's monsters, and have 2 monsters on your side of the field just to be able to use your opponent's monsters. Even though it was obvious this was a way to encourage you to play Trifeorutum, it cost you nearly 3 resources to get 1 card with a hard once per turn negate. Predaplanting was solid as its graveyard effect popped a card, but only if you fusion summoned, making your best way of popping a card depended on you making fusion monsters. All wasn't lost for our hard-to-name grounds archetype. The deck was on the verge of a breakthrough and close to being solid. So they finally made the icing on the cake to boost Predaplants and many other fusion-based decks. It didn't go as planned because in March 2020, Dual Overload gave the meta Predaplant Verte Anaconda, a Link 2 with 5 attack and needed 2+ effect monsters to make. You can target one face-up monster in the field and it becomes dark until the end of the turn. I know that's the effect all of you wanted to hear. Still, it also had this sort of cool effect that allowed you to pay 2,000 life points and send one Fusion or Polymerization Normal or Quick Play spell from your deck to the graveyard to make this card's effect become that spell's effect when this card is activated, but then you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. And just like that, Predaplants were the proud owners of one of the strongest Link monsters in the history of the game. The ability to have the monster that could become any fusion card was absurd, and gave Predaplants a significant boost. And no other decks. There was no way other decks would abuse this card because it was an easy 2 with simple requirements that anybody, and I mean anybody, could meet. Especially a tier 1 meta deck. We'd even go so far to say it's balanced and didn't give decks who had no business fusion summoning easy access to monsters they'd never even touch. Including a fusion so strong it could have its standalone deck separate from another archetype that it was created for and create havoc for almost a whole year. There was no way it would let you use specific fusion spells with hard restrictions and bypass them because Verte copies effects and ignores restrictions because they're not activated said spell card. Yes, indeed. Even if that ever happened, there'd be no way this card would be allowed to float in the TCG for nearly 2 years, being a menace and having decks play carnage just to be able to fusion summon monsters of your choice for free. This card was rightfully placed on the ban list in 2022. So, though Predaplants had another great card to use, so did the meta once again. Decks that had more fluidity than Predaplants and could fit better engines, making them versatile. Also, even with all of those disadvantages, none of them were as blatant as the deck still not having a way to deal with spell traps, multiple hand traps, and floodgates shutting them down completely. Our final cluster of unpronounceable support came in Dimension Force in 2022. 5 monsters rounded out our leafy green friends, with 2 of them being Pendulum monsters. Predaplant Bufolicula was a level 1 Pendulum monster. Its Pendulum effect lets you fusion summon 1 Dark Fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials once per turn. With its monster effect, you can add a face-up Dark Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand if this card is sent to the graveyard, or add it to your extra deck face-up because it was used as a fusion material. Predaplant Triantis lets you use monsters in your Pendulum zone as monsters for a fusion summon if it's for a Dark-type monster. With its monster effect, it enables you to choose monsters in the field up to the number of monsters you control and put predator counters on them and change them level 1 or 2 or higher if this card is sent to the graveyard or add to the extra deck face up as a fusion material. Predaplant Biblis lets you add 1 Predaplant monster from your deck to your hand if it's sent to the graveyard. And if there's a card with a predator counter in the field, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Their newest fusion monster, Predaplant Ambulolidius, was a level 5 dark plant requiring 2 Predaplant monsters that search a Predaplant monster or Predap spell
I forgot about the Grimoires.
graveyard or face up extra deck on its summon. Once per turn, you can target a monster your opponent controls with a predator counter and 1 monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, special summon a Predaplant monster from your deck. Finally, their new boss monster, Starving Venom Preda Power Fusion Dragon, was a level 10 dragon fusion that required 1 dark fusion monster plus 1 fusion monster's materials. It's always treated as a Predaplant card. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, you contribute 1 monster to either field with a predator counter, and if you do, negate the activation. If this fusion summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, you can target 1 dark monster in your graveyard and special summon it. It's safe to say this was the best wave of support for Predaplants. The Pendulums let Predaplants to get more presence through either the Pendulum mechanic, or through Bufolicula and Triantis' effects that let you fusion summon with Pendulum scales, saving you extra resources. Biblis was a searcher and extension alongside Ambulomedius, an additional searcher who also doubled as an instant fusion target. And Preda Power Fusion Dragon gave the deck an Omni Negate, being able to tribute your opponent's monsters and predator counters to negate your opponent's cards, and costing them more resources. Its effect in reviving a dark monster from the graveyard is flexible, letting you bring back any dark monsters, including your previously summoned Predaplant fusions, including this card. Multiple searchers and more consistency to their engine for fusion summoning. Also, fusion decks became more viable thanks to the Master Rule 4 revisions, not restricting making extra monsters to the extra monster zone any longer. However, the deck still wasn't strong enough to stand independently. Most of these core engine cards were used in Branded due to synergy between the 2 archetypes, plus the fact that Bufolicula could special summon any Dark Fusion monster and save Branded resources. What goes from just ending with Mirror Jade and Aluber could end up with Mirror Jade, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, Albion, Dragostapelia, and a set of Predaplanting and Branded Beast. The deck was near perfect. Well, almost, as it could sometimes give enough bricks to build affordable homes and still took L's to cards like Deep Barrier and Dispel Fragrance, which people who were prepared to see Branded cited throughout the meta. So the problem that Predaplants had was never solved, even when combined with a more potent archetype. So far, this is what the Predaplant archetype has to work with. Unlike most failed cards and mechanics, our carnivorous green friends are playable in regular TCG and Master Duel. It feels like they could have been more if they didn't have to depend on the
birthday anaconda allowed in Master Duel?
Having absolutely no way to interact with back row or spell and trap cards. They then had to go through Master Rule 4, being a deck that needed multiple extra deck zones to do something. And by the time the Master Rule 4 revisions came out, the deck was just flat out irrelevant due to better fusion decks available for players at the time. Finally, the Predaplant counters were useless. When you would place them, it was easy for your opponent to get rid of them by simply using said monster into an extra deck zone. Also, with how Predaplant counters work, while they might hinder synchros and XCs with level manipulation, they really do nothing against mixed fusions outside of monsters like Limited Sundew, Dragon's Taphalia, and Trivia Ryuto. It's tragic when you realize how much Predaplant cards impacted the meta, yet strong engine searchers, powerful extra deck monsters, and its archetype attribute being one of the best in the game didn't take Predaplants anywhere. Hopefully Konami isn't done supporting the archetype as a whole, and one day, not have Predaplant players praying to draw into a lightning storm to handle their back row. As of now, just put these plants in some potted soil and let them sit on the windowsill. Today, veganism does not prevail.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Very well. Then allow me to show you to your room. A quick rest, right? Of course. Well, be careful out there.
Fuck, this is gonna suck.
Ah, it's you. What were you thinking? Who should I bring out? Make sure you think this through.
Would it be any faster if I just was solo leveled?
Keep it quick. See you around.
I'm pretty sure it's not gonna matter. Let's just go continue committing genocide on all the fucking bears. I checked if there was DLC since 3DS seemed to be the era where Atlas enjoyed fucking making bullshit. that, I was hoping at least there'd be a mod that doubled XP gain. Or something. Although something like that would probably break the game. Now you're gonna become over-leveled over quickly.
Their stuff. They don't want to block it, but they have to because they don't want me to get card advantage. And nowadays, I picture so many decks will look at Dark Confidant and be like, it doesn't block anything. I don't care if it's on the board. They're going to die too quickly. And if they flip over... the card on Holy Annex is a very interesting card. I don't know if I've shown you this card. I don't think I have. So this is a card. Yeah. Let's get it out. Let's get out on Holy Annex. This is like the premier black card advantage card currently that sees play. I am sorry. How do I rotate you?
Just turning my head at a 90-degree angle. It's fine.
Well done.
The beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you control a demon, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, otherwise you lose 2 life. Okay. So basically you get an extra card for 2 life every turn. Which is basically like Dark Confidant, but you don't have to play it. And it's a little bit more expensive because it's redraw.
And when you do land a demon, it goes the other way. The drain goes the other way. Which matters. As similar to Cecil, right? You gain the life back.
Yep.
When you're ready to start dropping demons. So, let me ask you a question. Sure. We're gonna get rules, alright? How much life do you think you lose if you reveal this card with your Dark Confidant?
You lose light equal to its mana value. Oh, this is a fun question, because it's a card that has 2 mana values. What's it, 3 and 5? You take 8? Is it both?
Yes. Impersonation.
You just want to be triggered too. Not necessarily at the same time 3 cards in a row. Or 4 cards in a row now.
It's probably true. Probably. I think we'll rumble a bit more. Let's do some of these adventure lands, because they're very interesting. The towns are interesting.
Sure. You already showed me the inn. This is Ishgard, the Holy City. This is a land town that has 2 different lands. The regular land is that it enters tap, white, and then it has sorcery effect. So I imagine if you don't want to use land, like as land, you can like play this as a sorcery from your hand. You can draw it like on turn 5. Is that how that works?
Yes, but the parenthesis text there at the back says, then exile this card. So after you cast the spell,
Piss ass,
card,
don't die.
You may play the land later from
Oh, that's neat. So you still get to actually kill it. Okay. So for the sorcery adventure side of this, it says Faith and Grief. It's 3 and 2 white, so 5 total. Return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. As you said, you can play this in land exile, which is nice, because so just play this in land. Even though that counts, but still. Tap land, I imagine it's standard when you're dying very quickly. It's not particularly good. When you're saying
it's not ideal.
I mean, the pace is bearable for the most part.
So, what are we doing here?
I'm beginning to realize just how much time I had back in school.
It's value, and then
ancestral recall.
When I was at school grinding for levels in in the original Etrian Odyssey, I was like, yeah, I have nothing else better to do while waiting in between classes.
The moment I showed this.
Not much you can do meaningfully in 15 minutes. What I could do though was grind for a few extra levels.
The devil's advocates are going to say opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is so low because it's just a tap land. You die for tap lands in the standard.
That's how it seems. That's how it seems. Yeah.
Also, the mana bases that would be willing to take turns off to get this value, they are the ones who can least afford these lands. And the reason for that is the Verge cycle. I'm going to get into the weeds a little. I don't want to show you all of them. I'm just going to try to explain the mana base thing in standard briefly. The Verge cycle, these are lands that basically become dual lands if you control another land of any type. Okay? This, Ishgard, it's a land town, but it's not a land plains town, so it doesn't work with the Verges. What you want to do is play Surveil lands, which are lands that enter tapped, let you look at your top card and have 2 types to turn on the Verges, so that you can play your very clean but slightly slower to increase mana bases to compete with opponents who are doing insanely powerful. The other land bases that are popular, that are not Verge based, are just running a bunch of the dual lands that deal you damage or have some other drawbacks, but come in untapped, so you can play fast and furious. This is neither.
No, it's not.
It's neither, and that's something you have to take into account with all of these towns, is like, what deck do they hit? So, let's do another one, because people are really hyped about these. I think they're a kind of damn breed, but
hey, okay. My list 10, Ancient Metropolis. Another land town, which also enters tap and adds green. And then for 4 and 2 green, so 6 total, you get to play Lasting Faith as a sorcery adventure. Create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each land you control. So by that point, like if you have 6 lands, it's a 7/7. Then you can exile it and play it later as a land. But you're going to be dead way before that, so 1.
You give this one a 1? I even think
it's slightly better than the other one, I feel, but even then, it's still so expensive. Like you said, the games are ending before you're even gonna cast this card. So maybe you can ramp into a little bit quicker. Like maybe you can get this on turn 4, like right before you die, and then you can play like a 7/7 or something. Okay, sure. Then Cecil just fucking trades with whatever with the hero, and then it doesn't matter. So you're dead anyway. So I'm 1.
there's never a control deck back in the format that's just trying to answer everything.
What the fuck's going on?
That reduces a threat. It's, you know, that's not...
Why am I missing?
I think this will see a lot of it in various formats. You want me to give it a 2, don't you?
For the contrarian's sake, yes, I do.
The fact that this can be a creature, I think more people will run one of it. But the big problem is, like, what is a green deck right now in the format? It's either really slow, like Overlord decks that do rely on types. They need Domain for Leyline Binding, meaning they get a cost reduction for the different types of lands they have, but this doesn't count as one of those types of lands.
Okay.
So that doesn't seem good. And then it doesn't cast Land or Elves on turn 1. So I'm with you. It's another 1.
Yeah.
It's another 1. I promise not all of these will get 1s from me, but this is another 1. So let's do the red one.
Like I said, if you didn't say the game was as fast as it is, I would probably be tempted to give it 2, but even then, I still think it's a somewhat. Lindblom Industrial Regency.
Hello?
FF9.
What you got for me?
This is another tap land. This was
Thanks.
red, but for
Is that all you came for?
2 and a red,
Thanks
this
for the
is
business.
instant node, not a sorcery.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Sign in over here, please. Come back here whenever you're tired.
Slightly more playable because of the cheaper cost. That's also an instant, so you can do it on your opponent's turn. But I don't know why you would, considering like the ability.
I mean, hold up mana to do something else. The opponent plays around it. They hold back. You end step do this and get a cheeky 2 for 1.
But like at that point, is there just way better 3-drops instead of making an 0/1 black wizard that just deals 1 damage to each opponent? Probably.
In an aggressive deck, yes, but in terms of, like, what I'm picturing is you're in one of those many positions in Standard where some people are going to roast me in the comments, I'm sure they've done it already, that game's ending on turn 3 and 4. What I mean when I say it's fast, the amount these games can end on turn 3 and 4. That is the threat of the aggro deck, and sometimes they pull it off. The format has become so interactive, the pressure on each turn is so high to disrupt what the opponent is doing.
Yeah, that sounds like you.
Yeah, if you're going to kill the game turn 7, it's because you had 3 or 4 perfectly timed, proper disruptive spells against aggressive decks. Like, that is a lot of pressure. That is a tapped land means you don't cast one of those on times means you could die.
Right.
And this card I see in one of those spaces of like a 3-mana board clear, which do exist in Standard, is what the opponent has on their mind. So you, the aggressive, you have your threats, you attack with them, you don't play more into the board, the opponent untaps for their turn 3. They have to play their sweeper.
These guys are too much of a pain in the ass to grind for. I think I'll just ignore them.
Are strong enough to win the game. And on the next step, like, make one of these little wizards untap.
They're invisible and they have way too many physical resistances, which gets in the way of auto battling.
Nothing with the turn. I think that is a thing that is very useful in Magic. It's a way to do something with your turn and your mana in a situation that would otherwise be bad for you.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. 1.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm glad, because I'm going to fight you on this one. I think this is closer. It's close to a staple. I think a few red decks will play a copy of
Okay.
this. You know what? I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give this a 3.
I was going to give it a 2, but, like, even then, I just feel like there's way more productive ways to use your mana. And this is with me not knowing the format. I just, like, this seems for what the decks that are trying to play are trying to do. This just, I don't disagree with your hypothetical about the board wipe and everything. That still just seems way too slow. I feel like at that point, you would just, like, at that point, just get as mega aggressive as possible. Just play into the board wipe. And also, they have to have the board wipe, so there's that, too. I'm not buying it. I think it's fun.
Alright, I think it's going to be like a one of.
Okay.
Just a one of in a bunch of the red aggressive strategies, including the prowess strategies. I think this goes really good to prowess.
Okay. Alright.
Huh.
We
That's
have
a unique problem, this
point
guy.
differential. See,
That's the
Oh my
biggest differential. No, that's not true. Because we had a 2-point differential.
So. Alright, I've got one more of these adventure lands that's been revealed so far. This is the most TGB one. It's the blue one.
Oh, that's probably going to be broken in that case. Alright, Jidor, Aristocratic Capital, another town that enters in capital. Blue and Overture, 4-2 blue for a sorcery. Target opponent mills half their library rounded down, then exile this card and play it later from exile. Love you, buddy, but I'm not feeling it. No? And you're telling me that your reward for waiting to turn 6 is to mill your opponent halfway, and that's assuming you're not dead before then?
Yeah, that's what we're telling you.
Not buying it. Not buying it. You're trying to convince me on this one. I think the other one, the one we just looked at, the winning one, is better than this.
You still going with a 1? Or you want to hear what I have to say first?
I want to hear what you have to say. I'm in the 1 camp. I'll
Okay. This is the win con of a number of black and white control decks currently. And
Is
you don't
milling?
have to read. Yeah, you don't have to read the whole thing, just the bottom line.
Jace, the Perfected Mind. Blue. What is that other mana symbol?
Phyrexian blue.
Isn't that the one where you can, like, pay 2 life?
You can pay 2 life or a blue.
Or a blue.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Target player mills 3 times X cards. I see. So, you can Disneyland, mill half your deck, and then use this Planeswalker and mill the rest of the deck. Because by that point, let's see, you can play this before, then you can play Jidor on 6, maybe you can play like 5. You mill half your deck. They're down to 30, but they open with 7, so they're down to 23. They draw a card for turn for 6 turns, so they're down to 17, and that's assuming they haven't got anything else out of the deck. You're starting at 5, so you get to mill them for 15. So basically, if you pull this off, you're pulling them over out. Like, or they're going to be on, like, 1 card, essentially.
Yep.
Okay.
Y'all are fucking crazy there. If milling is one way you guys decide to try to win tournaments.
Now, you can play it for the 3 mana. If you play it for the 3 mana cost, it only comes in with 3 loyalty, but it's an option.
That kind of win
Sure,
strategy is something
prior to
alternate win cons are something I do at
and
parties,
that would be your game.
not at
Right, so
tournaments.
Just play Jace, open Styx, and then Jidor, then the game's just over.
Yep.
That's pretty fast, too. Like, you could play this, like, green-blue, have some ramping capabilities. You can actually get to this a lot. Because most
actually
generic meta.
I'm going to show you, this is the card that won the World Championship last year in conjunction with Jace the Perfected Mind. This is
This is the card you played against us in Commander.
I did. I played it in Commander. So, this combo, Jace plus Doomsday Excruciator, won the World Championship.
Wow.
If they are running 6-mana Demon, that basically mills the opponent down to 6, and then wouldn't it? I mean, then they can definitely play Jidor. It might even be easier to just play Jidor because
I think it is easier. Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many times running this deck after this championship, I'm just staring at a Doomsday Excruciator like, this is not the best card right now.
Well, it's the same color. Like, I mean, it's sort of hard to cast. It's a better version. There. Okay. Like, showing me that's not more of a Showing me this some more.
Basically, what we're saying is, if Jace the Perfected Mind is on the board and the opponent doesn't remove it, they have to, while Jace is on the board, think about, what if I get Chidori next turn?
Right.
And, you know, do I lose on the spot?
Right. And that's threatening. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has stuff like that all the time. Like, if they have, like, you set up one card and then the second card is just like GG.
Yep.
I guess it does check a lot of boxes. It seems like you can speed this up too, like where it doesn't have to wait for 6 for Overture.
It's true. There are other cards that mill in the format, including a card that for 4 mana mills an opponent equal a number of cards in their graveyard.
Oh, okay.
That is also a knockout type blow.
I was more thinking about the ramping aspect. If you're playing like green-blue, right, you can go like turn 1 Land of War, so you have like turn 3, or turn 2 you have 3 mana. And then you can play Jace on 2. If you have a blue, you can play Jace on 2. Which, like, I don't know if you want to do that necessarily, but, like, you could.
Stop giving me ideas, man. There's a turbo mill deck I can play in standard. Oh, boy.
Because I'm thinking at that point you'd rather just ramp again on 3. So then you ramp, so then you're at 5 on 3. You can play Jace on that, and then hold mana up for a counterspell to defend Jace, and then if you have Chidori, just GG. Bang bang.
God, somebody showed TGB Runic already,
To be
yeah.
fair, I didn't see the combo first, so like, if I knew there
His
was, like,
favorite
a
win
version
con
on
is
it, no
milling.
win. I just didn't. But-
Unfortunately,
I'm a nice guy.
Runic really don't...
Is this going to be a scheme?
They're an advantage engine,
You've gone first almost every
not an
time.
alternate win con
Well,
strat.
that's the point, because then it doesn't influence. If you guess first, it might influence my decision. Because you're the actual person who knows what these cards do.
Okay.
So I'll keep going first.
I like that.
I'll give it a 4. Like, at the end of the day, it's still a land. It's a crack. I'll give it a 4. It's gonna be a 3 or a 4. Because, like, I guess it depends on how much you really want to go in on this strategy to, like... But to me, I don't see why you wouldn't just play 4 both. Because these are, like, how you're going to win the game. So, not necessarily win the game, but, like, it's the easiest way to win. So I'll give it a 4.
I'll go 3. I'm nervous about running that many copies. I'm worried about mana break bases. I'm just thinking about like the dynamics of a mana base, but you might be really right. Like this might just.
This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Brain. Yu-Gi-Oh! Brain, you optimize the cards that are gonna like achieve the combo. Like regardless of if you draw multiples, you suck it up. Like you just want to see the combo. So
yeah,
that's our philosophy.
The downside of multiples is very low.
Right,
exactly. Win the game. In a way, they can win the game on their own, especially if it's like a combo deck. You might hit their whole combo.
And to be fair, you can also win this strategy for half land, because if you are like in this world of playing this green blue ramp mill, right? You can afford because as long as you just stick Jason, you can take a turn off. It's not ideal, but like you could.
Oh, nice.
So. It still does function as a slower land at the end of the day. That's the way I'm looking at it. It does have alternate utility.
Indeed. Alright.
We'll see, though. See.
We will see. We'll absolutely see. I'm actually looking forward to this one quite a bit.
I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this is the most interesting that you've shown me this far, I will say.
Alright. Let's do some graveyard shenanigans. You like graveyard shenanigans?
I do, very much so.
That's what Yu-Gi-Oh's all about, baby.
It's one of the great for a sorcery.
They call it Yu-Gi-Oh, but with how much graveyard spinning, it should just be called necromancy at this point. Or whatever the Japanese word for that would be.
Counter on it. If a creature playing out a counter on it, die, exile it, and then you can flash it back for 4. So you can play it for 2, surveil 2, gain 2 life, and then you can flash it back to Alright, what do we turn it into? Esper Maduin. It's another enchantment.
Everything plays from the graveyard. Except for the ones that don't, but the banished is just a secondary graveyard anyway. A graveyard with a different name. It's still a graveyard.
Other creatures you control +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start it off. Start something. Feels good.
Yeah. So The first thing that comes to my mind on this one is you have to cast it from the graveyard. And because on its own, you go down a card, you gain a low value, but you go down a card. Vandalize other cards. The card will definitely be at its best one. You can throw it in your graveyard in some other way while getting some other advantage, which there are a number of ways to do that. Yep, not hard to do. And then the other great thing is you cast it from your graveyard without paying that 4 mana flash cost. You can cast it from the graveyard for cheaper. Like, we are really doing a thing. This is one of the most powerful...
Man, remember when the graveyard didn't matter all that much?
At the moment, founding the third path. And
for Yu-Gi-Oh, those were dark times.
Is like Chapter 1 would cast this for free. Chapter 2
perhaps, no, it's not dark.
Chapter 3 would...
I'd say it was more chaotic.
Graveyard, right? Is that what that says?
Except not really.
Does that not work? If it was cast from a graveyard and exile it. If you're exiling it and then you copy it, and you cast the copy, was that from the graveyard? Probably not. Maybe that doesn't
I want to play Magic.
That's the comments will tell us. They know everything.
Now it's really sad. Why would they do that? There are others. So I have Songcracker Mage, a recent basically a flash 3/2 that would let you cast this card for 1 mana, right? Okay. And then you do that, it comes out of the graveyard, it gives you that value, and then it transforms. That's pretty good to get them for like 1 mana, kinda. I feel like we need more. What do you think?
I feel like it's a bit too slow given what you're saying the state of standard is like now. I think it's decent, but I don't know. I feel like if it were slower, you could see a lot more benefit from this. So
I'm not gonna lie, I might have taken a point off it just for the founding the third path non-interaction that that hurt.
I like you realize that in real time. I like you realize that in real time.
Sad. I don't think it works. But like founding the third path is a heck of a card because it's almost free. It's almost free if you're casting the spell with Chapter 1. It's 4 graveyard value for nothing, and then Chapter 3 is like another free piece of value. In this case, also a 4/4 body, but apparently not. Apparently that hurts. That
I think I'll give it
me in the gut.
I think I'll give it a 2. Like maybe there's some weird deck that finds a way to like take advantage of it, like we're talking about, but I'm not seeing every deck playing Esper. It's not seeing it. Like you said, you go down a card, like the idea is you get the card back, and that's like what sort of like gives you back the value. And like you said, there's ways to cheat it out, but maybe it's a niche deck. I can see them trying to pull something like this off, but I'm not seeing this in every deck, like our friend Cecil or anything like that.
1. Spiteful 1.
Wow, Spiteful 1! Wow.
I'm very upset that my cool monologue
doesn't work with a blue card.
I'm so unhappy. I'm extremely unhappy right now. I'm on tilt in a way I've never been. It's funny. Okay, enough of these green cards. They're trash. Black card.
Zodiark, Umbral God. He makes an appearance in many Final Fantasy games. He is 5 black mana for a 5/5 indestructible god. When he enters, each player sacrifices half the non-god creature they control. But when a player sacrifices a creature, with a close-up encounter on Zodiark. Okay. Unfortunately, they get to choose what they're sacrificing, which is never good.
Not great.
No.
You are black. You can kill a lot of stuff.
You can
you
kill a lot
know,
of
fine,
stuff.
I'll do it in
But at the same time,
easy.
you know, it still doesn't feel great at the end of the day. The fact that it's like 5 black means you basically have to play this like a mono black deck. Like you're not like tricks to like random.
Really? Venom flies.
You can't reanimate.
Yeah, you can reanimate it. So
probably a
you
lot
could
of
just like
reanimate.
They seem to be a little tougher.
It's a fine
Like, who cares? I could have done this an expert either way, so...
It is rounded down is also rounded down. They need to choose rounded down. I feel like it's more like anything.
Honestly,
Keep 'em coming.
the wider boards.
I knew there was one more wave.
I start to wonder that too.
Will there be a 4th wave?
The thing like they have
I doubt it.
like 4 monks and they sack
Amazing.
half of them. When you block one of them, you still die to the other one.
Right.
Yeah. Umbral God.
I think people won, to be honest.
Whoa!
Oh shit.
He's so...
He's cool. He's cool,
He's so
but
cool.
for standard, like I said, I think it's playability in other places, but for standard, this seems like a lot. Here's the reanimated attacks. It seems like there's better things.
That's not very good. Oh, that's not very good.
You just want to pick two. You can pick one. That's really what this is.
It honestly is. I'm just trying to bait hooks and fish a lot. I'm doing a lot of fishing. But that's okay.
I'm not rare. I'm not rare. You're not. It's a lot easier to look down a trail of breadcrumbs.
There's got to be a way I can edit this to a classic rare enrollment right there. All right. Here's a card.
Oh, yeah. Like me, Army of Blood. Anyway, this is a 1 Heredity Light, legendary creature, human soldier, and a very good one because it has First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink. And Stat Curve, which is very fitting for Final Fantasy 13, one of the ones I did play, in fact. Whenever Lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, and a source would deal damage to that player or a permanent that player controls, it deals double damage instead. Which is crazy because it's any source. It's not like it's like you pick something. It's just anything.
Yeah.
As a commander, this card seems very good. I think that people are going to brew with this quite well. Standard did say there's like very aggressive red decks in the format. That deal combat damage should be later. But she has trample, so that works. Yep. Okay, just want to clarify that thing. Still learning here. I guess it's like, without knowing the rest of the card, I'm curious how much, if she gets in and deals damage. I kind of wish she had haste. I think that's one thing I wish. It's like, instead of First Strike, I would say haste. Or like, instead of Lifelink or something. But it showed like, I wonder how much for the super aggressive decks, how much, like, double damage sources. Like, that seems very good. So it's like, turn 3, you can play her. Turn 4, you can attack with her. As long as she can beat something, then you get the effect. It's until your next turn, so you can even do it on your opponent's turn too. And you have 4 mana to basically just do double damage.
Yeah. A lot of damage. It's a lot of damage.
It seems like a lot of damage. I guess it's like, again, I don't know if this is Twin.
I mean, it's the biggest thing that you can get. A number of things with 3 mana. There's plenty of free freeze with haste. There's plenty of, like, aggressive creature options. There's also cards that make creatures, like there's a 3 mana card that makes a 1/1 goblin every combat that attacks. There's multiple cards like that that make another threat every combat.
I guess it's just if she can actually get the combat damage to a player in. Because even with Trample, if she's competing against things with 3 toughness, she's not going to get in. Like Cecil, for instance.
You know, 1 mana card is a lot of damage.
Yeah. Is it too slow? Such a cool card. I love Lightning. It's such a fun design.
Oh yeah, and the First Strike lets it hit, and
it
does the stuff that's in combat with Lightning is double damage.
That's a weird First Strike question. This is the thing I'm still learning. So if like she attacks a 3/3, she has First Strike. Her damage is dealt first. Does the thing die?
It does. Yes.
But she doesn't get the damage. Okay, but she's still.
Say it's a 3/2, then she would.
Yeah, in that case she would. That's totally fine. But does she still have the ability? No, yeah, First Strike, yeah, she. Does First Strike work when she's defending, too? Yep. Oh, that's cool. Okay. That's also interesting, because, like, if they're playing an aggressive deck and they choose to attack in and you block with Lightning, that triggers it and you start immediately. There's, like, that angle. God, she's such a good card. I want to give her a 3 just because I think she's cool. Like, I don't know what everything else that's going on in Standard, if it's enough. Like, she might be too slow, what you're saying, but she also might be, like, able to slot in as, like, a good drop in the active exit.
Oh, nice.
So I can't wait for you to tell me this card sucks until 1, but I want to give her a 3. I think I'm biased here because I like the game. And I like the
Well, that's why we had to have you on the show. This card's a 1! Such a 1! Oh my goodness. So I like that it has lifelink at first range because it may actually try to defend you against the red decks, but I still think with all the prowess triggers, with the best card in
not
red
enough.
decks, monstrous rage, it's just so hard to win combat with red. They can make it so much better. And this is the thing I said about red aggressive cards in a much smaller standard format many years ago, but it holds true again and again. No haste, no place. Alright?
I think her not having haste is a really big downside. If she did, I think we'd be having a much different conversation here.
Hello?
They're really close.
What you got for me?
What is this?
Thanks. I got some new goods. Go on. Is that all you came
Commander,
for?
though, I think
Thanks
she's
for the business.
I think she's
Oh, yeah. I mean, in Commander, you can play a number of
there.
cards that grant haste.
How goes
You
the
can
job?
exact around her with all the
Hey,
best
thanks.
haste.
Dump Anger, Bigger Grave. Yeah, you got plenty of stuff.
Oh yeah, yep, Lightning Greaves, bam! Yeah, just set up all the double damage shenanigans you could possibly want. But people being hyped about this in Standard, I'm like, nobody plays a 3-mana
Well?
card and then attacks with it the next turn.
No
and finds
thanks.
that to be a road to
It
success
just
in
seems so
Standard.
slow.
This universe needs to develop pesticides.
So sad.
I let my bias get the better, but it's okay.
Also, come on, they're probably good for the ecology.
I'm counting on you.
Maybe Lightning.
Did you know there are
like,
3
has a
Final
home.
Fantasy 13?
Welcome to the Rooster Inn.
What?
They made
Very well.
They made 2 sequels.
A quick rest,
to Final
right?
Fantasy 13.
Of course.
Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13 2, and there's Final Fantasy 13 3. I'm not joking.
Well, be careful out there.
Monologuing to get away from these cards that I'm laying down.
Correct.
I understand.
Correct. I'm distracted.
I understand.
Distracted.
All right, here. You want a monologue? I'll give you a monologue. Let's read this card.
Terra, Magical Adept. This is 1 a red and a green for a legendary creature, Human Wizard Warrior, which is giving them all the tags. 4/2, notably. When she enters mill 5, put the 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. And then Trance for 4 a red and a green, so 6 total. Tap her, exile her, then return her transformed under its owner's control only as a sorcery. She turns into Esper Terra, shocker. Another legendary enchantment creature, Saga Wizard. And
Yeah, you thought you had types before.
correct. I was about to say, see, it's Neo cards just have this much text, but we only have it on one side of the card. You have it on both sides. So that's how they got it. First 3 sagas creates a token at the top of the non-legendary enchantment control. It gains haste. It's a saga, put 3 more counters on it, and sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Interesting. And then for the 4th part of the saga, you add double white, double blue, double black, double red, double green, and you exile to return it to the battlefield. The front face up, so you get 10 mana on it. Okay, this card's crazy. This has a lot going on with it, honestly.
It really does.
I mean, just her entry to mill 5's pretty good. I think it's just getting enchantment to hand. You can get the Esper song, Origins, whatever the hell we call it.
Can you?
Enchantments.
On the back side.
Oh, it's backside.
Yeah, it's a sorcery on the front. What's rules? We need rules, lawyers. Hello.
Want to see the most played enchantment? If you would like to show me the most played enchantment, that might help me, because I think I'm trying to think. Fear of Missing Out. 1 in a red for an enchantment creature type. When it enters, discard a card, then draw a card. Okay? Then Delirium, when it has 4 more cards of different types. It attacks for the first time each turn, and if there are 4 more types in the graveyard, untap target. After this phase, a combat phase. Oh, cute. Okay. So this basically helps set this up. Not only do you mill this and then add it to your hand, then you're setting up for Delirium potentially as well.
And if you make a copy of this with the backside of Esper Terra, that's 2 combats already.
That's cute. That's very...
With a 6/6? Yeah, that game's over. Like,
yeah!
a 6/6 flyer, that thing means damage. Yeah, you're done.
I'm just trying to think. Lyrium... So there's a world where you can go, like, you're missing out turn 2, Terra turn 3, Terra mills 5, you hit Delirium if you're lucky, and then you already have the ability to just start getting your extra combat phases to be, like, mega aggressive. She can't
I mean, that's an expensive ability, by the way, on the trans. Yeah. Like, that's a lot of mana.
It's like
a graveyard. Graveyard red-green is kind of an interesting thing that's floating around. There is a red-green Delirium deck that is very fast. It can kill you on turn 3 with right draw.
Okay. But does it need Terra?
Good question.
It'd be good for that. It might just have better things.
Thinking about that deck, I think it had more trouble filling the graveyard. It often had to run cards on turn 1 that just filled graveyard and weren't
so Terra
aggressive.
fills that void potential.
You'd far rather run Llanowar Elves into Terra. Like, you would be so much happier doing that.
That seems way
running a turn 1 mill 2. Like, Seed of Hope is the card I'm picking up to the Magic fans.
I'll give her a 3. I'll give her a 3. I don't think she's gonna be like... I don't think she'll be... I think she's more of like a supporting role. I think she's good, but I don't know if she's more. Just scream forward.
Alright. I'm gonna go with I want to go with 2, because I think that the Delirium deck is the only home I can think of for it. But that doesn't mean like an enchantment deck would be good. I wish it looks like she should fly. Should she fly?
That kind of has that look.
Looks like, I know it's not an angel, but it looks like an angel, you know what I mean? I guess,
yeah, I use her
round. It's the angle. The angle is what's throwing me. It looks like wings, but it's not very much on the ground. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2. I'm gonna go a little lower on but hard. Like, the card is hard.
The card's very hard. Again, like, I think if the standard was as fast as you're saying, she would actually maybe use it in the right, like, format circumstances, but obviously that doesn't the cards.
She also does a really unique job. Like, red-green doesn't get nil like this.
I was about to say,
this
like,
is new.
Yeah. It seems like they're experimenting a lot with, like, breaking the color high velocity.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Very well.
Card, which makes me...
Then allow me to show you to your room.
Cards that we've already shown, so...
Well, be careful out there.
Spira, 3, a green and a white, so 5 total for a legendary creature human player, condensing 3/5. During your turn, Yuna and enchantment creature you control have trample, lifelink, and 2. And at the beginning,
the normal enemies here are
one target enchantment
simple enough to fight.
The battlefield with a finality counter.
I think
of your end
once
step.
we're on the mook phase where there's no more, it's the mooks here that are worth killing.
And then only during your turn they have those movements though. Which, like you said, enchantment is like not like super common anyway, so that's not that big.
It's more common than artifact, but less than creature.
There's creatures that are most common, so that would
I'm definitely going to call attention both to the Terra we just did, and remember Summon Knights of the Round from earlier?
Yeah, it's a way to get that out.
That's a board. That's a full board in Hearthstone.
But it's also assuming you're getting have the Knights card on this.
We can at the same time review another Final Fantasy card. This one.
Summon Bahamut, 9 mana for a 9/9 flying enchantment creature, Saga Dragon. First and second lore, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Good. 3 mana in card. 4 mana in Mega Flare. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. That is very mega fun. I like that a lot. You only get to do the saga after your draw step, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Well, when it enters, it triggers.
Oh, when it enters, it triggers.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
That
the
triggers the
first
first
trigger
one,
happens right away. Yep.
So you guarantee be able to pop something your opponent wants.
Yep.
I still feel like I think Commander, there's like a lot of...
Why is the encounter rate here so fucking
Take the
low?
game for as ending as quickly as possible. If you do the dream, right, and do this and hit Knights or Muhammad, then you might be able to ward off the aggressive decks. But the thing is, I don't know if you can do that consistently enough. Granted, we have Terra, we play 3 colors, and Terra into hopefully mill one of them, and then, Yuna. So, like, maybe? I don't know.
There's also a controversial. You know this one.
Oh, I know Omniscience. Yeah, we don't have to read that. Everyone knows that.
So, this is a 5-mana way to get Omniscience. Also, in standard in white right now, there's this card, which is basically 4 mana to get a 1/1 Omniscience, or to get a Bahamut, or to get a whatever else we showed. So, it's like a cheaper way to do the thing, but without getting the extra
And
body
having
that
Joy-Con drift sucks.
Sure. But I still feel like it suffers from the issue of you need these cards to be set up first and not die before that happens. Otherwise,
Awakening Omniscience is one of the competitive decks in standard now. Like,
really,
if you can do this thing on turn 4, like, you only need, like, 1 or 2 graveyard setup cards, and then 1 stall card or an opponent to stumble slightly, and it is, like, with what the deck does, win the game on the spot.
Okay.
So,
I feel like you're baiting.
I mean, it's, like, she's slower than the Awakening, right? But she's also 2 bodies that they have to deal with. They have to deal
she's
with
another
card and herself.
I was gonna say, she's also just another version of Awakening, right? So it's like you have the added redundancy to make the combo more consistent.
Oh yeah, and the deck loses if you don't find Awakening. I know this deck from experience. I got Mythic with this this month.
Okay, now where is this deck, like, are we talking tier 1? Like, where is this deck?
In Best of 1, I've considered it tier 1 for a while. In paper, it just had a showing where it was the 2nd most played deck at the event. And the format's considered to have like an S tier deck at the moment. Is the Steel Cutter Izzet deck, and Omniscience was the 2nd most played deck.
Alright, I'll give her a 3. You convinced me. Knowing that this combo exists, I think if you're adding the redundancy to it, this is a very Yu-Gi-Oh thing. Like, we'll play 12, 15 cards that basically do the same thing, because that's like what we want to do for whatever it is our deck's trying to do. So, in my mind, if you're adding another thing that does it, and helps make it more consistent, then if it's already like a top tier, like borderline top tier deck, I think that this would slot right in. I'm sure, why not? See the color zone line, that could be pretty have to play if you make it like so. Yeah,
the colors,
The wasps are annoying though.
Align because you have to add green. But it's not hard to add green to blue-white and play Bant and have some redundancy on your Awakenings. Also have just something that makes a body. It can also bring back something I also forgot to mention. The best card against Steel Cutter and other decks right now is called Temporary Lockdown. It's the best anti-aggro card, and it also happens to be an enchantment. So, being able to get that back out of the graveyard from your graveyard strategy could be good. So, I do see a lot of potential for this card, and I'm
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Very well. Then allow me to show you to your room.
I think I just spam sleep and just fight the bosses again.
Well, be careful out there.
Multiple decks. I don't know if I can do that, because at the end of the day, it's still a 3/5. I like that it has the ward during your turn. It's very hard for the opponent to just hold up mana. This, and it's a human, and maybe the human cavern of souls, which is outro.
That's disappointing.
Hello? What you got for me? Thanks. Is that all you came for? Thanks for the business.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Sign in over here, please.
Now, I'm gonna take a break and play some Yu-Gi-Oh! Before continuing this grind.